And so how do you recognize it? Well, the most important bedrock assertion of critical race theory is that racism is not an individual act. It's not individuals committing the sin of not loving their neighbors because of their color. It's written into the law. It's written into the institutions. It's written into the structures in order to overthrow the law, overthrow the institution, overthrow the structures. So any curriculum or workplace training program that says this is CRT, and don't let them lie to you. A second tenet of CRT is that race drives all behavior. They create these identity categories that are based on race or any immutable trait that will assign a person a victimhood status, and they say, well, they'll have a trait, a behavior that goes along with their category, and they should never assimilate or adopt American norms, because American norms and traditions and culture is just a front for white supremacy. So nobody can assimilate. Any school curriculum that teaches this is teaching CRT. A third tenet is that whites are born with unearned privilege. And that unearned privilege is denied to non-whites. And according to them, this is not something they came up with. Du Bois came up with this, but they have embraced it. This has prevented working class whites from uniting with working class blacks to overthrow capitalism. So in order to have what they want to have is the unity, workers of the world unite, what do you have to lose but your chains? And this obviously denotes their Marxist origins. They say that we must people must first recognize their white privilege and then work hard to get rid of it, to eliminate it, because then you'll have the working class unite. The fourth tenet is that meritocracy is a myth. CRT says that in the criteria, the benchmarks that are used to judge success or merit in America are false. They're white behavior. So you can't really, in the individual, some CRT people say, well, blacks will never succeed, they'll never be able to, they will always be subordinate, they'll never reach equality. Others say, well, if they work hard through the collective to overthrow the system, maybe the success at the end of the road. But any curriculum or training program that says that the color blindness is a myth and advocates for eliminating standards of behavior, or eliminating standards for getting into school, into universities. For example, the SAT. This rush to get rid of the SAT is all part of CRT. So anything that says that is part of CRT. And the fifth and last tenet, which has already been mentioned, is this idea of equity. Now, many of you will say, well, equity is pretty much the same as equality, right? I mean, and yes, traditionally, in the traditional sense of equity, it was the same as equality, pretty much. CRT has corrupted this, and it's now the functional opposite of equality. Under CRT, and by the way, Vice President Harris has been very clear about this. Equity means that the government must treat individuals differently according to their race. So we've taken this ginormous step backward to the night before July 2nd, 1964, when LBJ signed the Civil Rights Act, and we're enforcing color-conscious policy now for the first time in many decades. This is not only foolish, but we can't live as a country. Not us. We're not Finland. We cannot have race-conscious policies.